We have presenters that either have a connection to Centerville because they work at a Centerville Wellness Center, B, they live in Centerville, or C, both. So, and that's our first speaker actually falls under that category. Not only does he live in Centerville, but he has been practicing dentistry in Centerville for many, many years. So I will let him he can give a little bit of a background of himself. But first, Dr. Rick Shakalis.
Yeah, it's true. I've been a dentist for almost 40 years now. And in that time, I've seen just about everything. I mean, I've seen people from foreign countries and they've done the work. I've seen all the new things, old things. And there's some basics that still hold true no matter what. Even with all the high technology and everything, there is still some basics. And I want to go through that with you today because I want to tell you some things that you might think a little bit antithetical. Maybe you think it sounds a little wrong thinking, but this is the way our bodies develop over time, okay? And I want to talk about oral ecology. Now, oral ecology are really the organisms that live in the mouth, which are bacteria. I'm going to leave the viruses and all the other things out for now. Basically, I'm going to be talking about bacteria. And the oral ecology is the bacteria along with the saliva. Now, this was first seen by Antony van Leeuwenhoek in the 1600s. He was the person who invented the microscope. And he took plaque off his own teeth and looked at it, and it's wiggling around. He called them animalcules. Okay, but they're bacteria. Okay, so bacteria are in our mouths constantly. Constantly. The word bacteria frightens people. We want to go wash things. We want to go kill bacteria. But in this case, I'll show you why you cannot do that. Okay? So, even though bacteria have the potential to be harmful, but they play a key role in our immune system. Our mouth is part of our immune system. Just like the gut bacteria. Everybody's, that people getting more and more play about the gut. It's very, very important. The bacteria in the gut it's amazing how many functions that it has and how many things it breaks down. It breaks down carbohydrates. It makes vitamin K. Without bacteria, we would not be able to digest our food properly. This is a relationship that developed over thousands and thousands of years. And it's a mutualistic relationship. It's good for the bacteria because the bacteria have a warm place to live and there's food available as we eat. And it's good for us because in most cases they're good. There are harmful bacteria too, and I'll go through that. But the majority of them are good. To simply attempt to kill all the bacteria in the mouth is not only impossible, it is very dangerous to our health. So some people go a little bit overboard sometimes, and it actually is harmful. Okay? Now, oral hygiene. Okay, we all practice oral hygiene. What you're trying to do with oral hygiene, you're trying to control the numbers of harmful bacteria. Okay? You disrupt the plaque. These bacteria have this ability to form mats, and they're very, very sticky. And on a hard surface, like a tooth, and you heard the term plaque before. What plaque is an organized film of bacteria. And when they form this organized film, some bacteria cause problems. Okay? If we didn't have these good bacteria in our mouths to compete with bad things that come in, like if we breathe in, we breathe some bad bacteria in, the good bacteria in the mouth will outcompete that, and they'll all gang up on it, and we won't reach our stomach. It keeps a lot of bad things from invading our body because they produce organic acids, and it will kill the bacteria. The hard surface of the tooth is different than the other parts of the body. If you think about the body, the bacteria have access to, the stomach is soft, it has cells that will shed. But in the mouth, the hard surface of the tooth is an ideal place for these biofilms to form. which is also called plaque. You probably heard the expression plaque. That's what biofilm is, plaque. And these reproduce, especially in the presence of sugar. Okay? Any refined carbohydrate will boost these numbers of bacteria up. But a particular sugar, because sugar is the most refined of all the carbohydrates, and it's almost instantaneous. Okay, now this part is going to freak people out. The human mouth contains between 500 and 1,000 different types of bacteria. 500 and 1,000 different types of bacteria that fluctuate depending on the diet. Now this is, think of high school when I say this. Individuals that practice oral hygiene have between 1,000 and 100,000 bacteria living on each tooth surface. Okay, high school, making out. less clean mouths have between 100 million and 1 billion bacteria per tooth. What were we thinking? Back in that cow. What were we thinking? Oh my God. Okay, the majority, there's all different types of bacteria, but the majority are Streptococcus bacteria. And most are perfectly harmless. There's one Streptococcus that's made me a living for almost 40 years now. That's called Streptococcus mutans. Okay, Streptococcus mutans is a bacteria that forms in these mats, in this plaque. And when sugar is exposed to it, it produces an acid almost instantaneously. That acid will eat a little hole in your enamel of your tooth, and that's where a cavity starts. Okay? So, what do you want to do? You want to somehow control the strep mutans without killing the good bacteria, right? You don't want to, if you take all your bacteria out of your mouth, you'll get yeast infections, you'll get fungal infections. I don't know if you know anybody that's been in the hospital with really had a bad surgery and they needed antibiotics and they developed like C. diff and all these different things because their bacterial flora is all knocked out of whack. So we have to keep it in place. If they ever engineered a way to neutralize Streptococcus mutans, dental problems would cease to exist. Until then, you need to visit your dental office regularly. Sorry. Brushing and flossing can partially remove this dental plaque temporarily, but within 24 hours it will form again. Okay? If a person brushes and flosses at least once a day, it will keep the plaque colonies broken up. And it's only when they form the colony that they really cause their damage. So if you think about it, if you can go in there once a day, by brushing, you can get the surfaces of the teeth, but you can't get in between the little nooks and crannies because that's where the bacteria can hide. That's why the floss comes in. Now, doesn't it seem silly that you use a piece of string in the year 2017 with all this modern thing? It's amazing. It gets in, and just that friction is enough to break up that sticky plaque. You're not killing anything, you're just lodging the plaque, okay? So, and if you don't remove the plaque, it can become calcified by the calcium in the saliva, and that's where tartar forms. That's when you go to the dental hygienist, and she cleans the tartar off. Because if you don't clean the tartar off, that's a rough surface and more bacteria. It kind of like feeds on itself. It feeds on itself because these strep mutans, knowing they produce acids, they produce enzymes that break down the ligament. You end up with a gum pocket. So it's strep mutans is the real culprit here. Okay, you can't remove it with a mouthwash. It's too sticky. You need that mechanical thing. Okay, now how many people here have heard of oil pulling?
Is that like coconut
Okay.
oil?
How many people practice oil pulling? Okay. Oil pulling. Okay. My daughter talked to me about oil pulling. I said, oh, really? So I looked into it, and it's kind of in vogue right now, oil pulling. And the more I looked into it, the more I realized it's pretty cool. Okay. It's not new. Okay. When I talked to you before about when they first noticed bacteria under a microscope, that was in the 1600s. Oil pulling was done by, Indians from India. They have certain practices they did 3,000 years ago. They didn't even know what a bacteria was, but they must have done it by trial and error, and they realized it worked, okay? What happens with oil pulling, you use coconut oil, I like to use flaxseed oil, all right? I mean, you can use different oils. What you do is you put oil in your mouth, and you suck it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And you're supposed to do it for 20 minutes, which is incredibly long. I think it's easier to do it a couple times versus doing it. But what it does, it actually, scientifically, what it does, it goes in, and the bacteria have a lipid wall, which is a type of fat. And when you put oil in your mouth, it's attracted to the oil. So that you're drawing the bacteria out. So if you have a cookie, or an Ike and Mike, or something like that. And so if you want to just, because the bacteria colonies of those strep nutrients are going to go jumping up. You do some oil pulling, you're going to take them out. It's all about taking them off guard, okay? You're not going to kill them, because if you try to kill, there are different things that people try to do with taking the antibiotics and everything, but you're going to kill the good bacteria. And that's not what you want to do. That's not what you want to do. Okay. So I think oil pulling is a very, very good thing, and I suggest people try it. It's not for everybody, but it does work. It does work, and it's cheap. It's organic, which brings me to some other things that I want to talk about. With toothpaste, okay? Most toothpaste are pretty benign. And they actually, if you talk, when you go to school, they talk about toothpaste, and they said really what it is you could use a brush. It's the mechanical action of the brush that's doing the work. The toothpaste just makes you feel good, it tastes good, right? But there's some weird additives. One of them in some of the toothpaste, propylene glycol. Does anybody know what that is? That's radiator fluid. They use that as a preservative, and that's like, I don't know where they put that in. But this is a pet peeve, and anybody in my office will say this. Because when the reps come in the office, I cannot believe they do this, okay? Colgate Total, of all the toothpaste, okay, Colgate Total has in it 0.3% triclosan. Now this is their attempt to put an antibacterial in here. Triclosan is actually a pesticide. It's the FDA, it's on the watch list of the FDA. Minnesota has banned it because it's in hand soaps, those antibacterial hand soaps and all that sort of thing. And it stays in the environment. It doesn't break down. So in Minnesota, it's getting into the lakes and ponds, and it's causing the fish, it's a hormone disruptor. So it's causing the boy fish to turn to girl fish, the girl fish to the boy fish. I mean, it can't do us any good either. So triclosan, I think, is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So I have a little demonstration of what I think of Colgate Total. Anybody in my office will tell you. You don't need it. You don't need it. It's chemical. It's crazy. It's indiscriminate. It's going to kill bacteria, good bacteria. Those good bacteria are your defense mechanisms, okay? Those good bacteria fight off the bad bacteria. They keep you from getting into your stomach and into your gut. And that's where a lot of stuff happens. So this is associated with this, okay? So I'm not on the Colgate Total. So in conclusion.
What kind of toothpaste would you say to use?
What's that?
What kind of toothpaste should we use?
You can use there's many different kinds. Like I said, most of them are very benign. Okay. Well, check the ingredients.
Yeah.
Tom's is good. You can't beat Tom's. Tom's is the most natural of all of them. But the toothpaste itself is really not, it's the mechanical action of the brush that's working. The tooth just makes you feel good.
What about baking soda?
Which one?
Baking soda?
A baking soda is good. Baking soda is a little abrasive.
Okay.
You have to be careful with baking soda, just because it's a little bit abrasive, but if you're careful with it, it's good. So, just in conclusion, now that I freaked everybody out talking about bacteria, one of the key components that I see of wellness is the prevention of disease. so we can try to avoid sickness when possible. I feel it's not enough to live long. Ideally, we want to live long and well.
Right on.
Thank you.
In terms, Rick, again, flossing, brushing teeth, the pick.
Yes, you can use a pick. There's Stimudents. There's little brushes. They have these little proxy brushes. Anything. Think of this analogy, okay? If your car is dirty, say you have a black car and it's all dirty, right? So you go, you want to wash your car. You spray it with the hose. Oh, it looks great. What's it look like when it dries? It still looks terrible. All that stuff is stuck on there. You have to mechanically wash it, okay? Same thing with the plaque. It's sticky. You have to mechanically break it up. And you're not killing it. You're not killing the plaque. You're just disrupting it. When you disrupt it, it can't cause a problem. So if you disrupt it once every 24 hours, you're going to be ahead of the game. And in my practice, one thing I've noticed, how many older people are still vital. I have so many people in their 80s that are still vital, still have their teeth. Back in the day, you know, people are 65 to get attention. Now people are keeping their teeth. They're going. They're going strong. So part of it is just making sure you can take care of your teeth for the long haul. And we can do it. We can do it. Sometimes if you just, I think today you maybe understand the process a little bit better. That, you know, they say brush and floss. But if you understand why and what the idea of it is, I think to me, it's easy to do because you understand it better.
Do you have an opinion on the whiteners in the toothpaste?
Well, whiteners, I think whiteners are okay. They haven't really found anything too detrimental with them, except they can cause sensitivity. Some people have a lot of sensitivity to the teeth with it, because what it does is the dental tubules, it draws the fluid out, and it makes the tooth very sensitive to cold. And unfortunately, if your teeth get real sensitive, you can't clean them properly, right? So it's kind of like, that's the only downside that I see. They don't weaken the enamel, you know, so I think they're okay as far as that goes. I wouldn't swallow it though, because it is peroxide, you know. That's a reducing agent. I wouldn't necessarily try to swallow it if I could. And the other thing with the oil point, you spit it out, okay? All those, you're going to accumulate a whole bunch of bacteria. So don't use your sink, because you'll be calling the plumber. Okay, so you might save yourself a trip to the dentist, but you'll pay the plumber.
Bleeding gums.
Bleeding gums is usually is irritation. That's your irritation, and that has to do with the bacteria that are there, putting out those enzymes and acids, and it causes. If you oil pull, I bet you bleeding gums will go away because it's just enough to draw those bacteria out. It's just enough to draw those bacteria out. And the diet. I will say this about sugar, okay? We all eat sugar, right? Life wouldn't be great if we didn't have sugar. However, the thing what you want to do, it's not how much sugar you have, it's how often, okay? If I have 2 sugars in a cup of coffee, and I'm sipping it all day long, you're feeding those bacteria, constant feeding. If I drink my coffee and I go 3 or 4 hours without it, you're starving them. So what you have to do is you have to not, even candies, like hard candies and things, people get, I've seen people, you know, unfortunately they have a trauma in their life and so they start going with the hard candy, and you should see, they all of a sudden they get cavities. They never had, even as an adult, they'll start getting cavities. Because that sugar in your mouth constantly, you're feeding those strep mutans bacteria.
What about the sugars that are in natural foods?
Well, there's still sugars. No, there's still sugars.
Oh no, that's what I'm asking. It's
right, you can still get cavities with
fruit.
fruit. You can still get cavities with apricots. It's still, but it's not like sucrose is a little bit more complex. It's basically you can't do it. You have to go periods of time without it in your mouth. So if you have it in there constantly, you're just feeding them.
Yeah, I just think of sugars that are in, you know, sugar snap peas or,
yep.
you know, all those different
fruits. The sugar snap pea probably wouldn't be that much, but like a dried apricot's pretty, you know, has a lot of sugar.
Oh, I'm not talking apricot, I'm talking about an apple.
An apple's pretty, no, apple's pretty good. Apple's pretty
That's what I mean, so it's got sugar in it.
Yeah, but it also has pectin, which actually it scrapes against the plaque.
Right, okay, so I'm just trying to get clear as far as sugars, because you hear sugar and everybody says sugar, and you got pineapples that have sugar in it.
Yep.
You know, if you eat pineapples, it's sugar. Is that another bad source of sugar?
Right.
That's what I'm just asking.
It's the frequency, actually.
Okay.
Yes.
I understand bananas clean your teeth, is that right?
Oh, wait, I can't get
Do bananas clean your teeth?
Bananas clean your teeth.
What's that?
Bananas.
Bananas?
Yes.
Bananas! Bananas, what do you think? No. Do you think they clean your teeth?
Well, I thought they did.
They do. I've heard of apples, corn and cob, but a banana? I'm not really sure. Maybe. I really don't know. I really don't know.
I think it was.
Could be. It could be. Anything with friction. Anything that's friction is good. The stuff is sticky. If you can rub your finger over your teeth and it squeaks, you don't have luck. If you run across and it's slippery, you have plaque. You have plaque.
How about a water pick?
Water picks are good. However, the analogy with the car.
Okay.
Okay, water picks are good at getting particles out and things like that, but it's not, the water is not going to, you'd have to use such force with it, you'd rip your gum. You get that, you can't get around it, it's still, you have to get the floss. So anyway, but the oil pulling is pretty cool. I think that would be very good for people to try, especially people who are interested in wellness. I think it's a great way, it's not expensive, and it's been around for thousands of years, and it's been scientifically proven to work.
What is it called, sorry?
Oil pulling.
That's the flaxseed oil.
I use flaxseed, but you can use, a lot of people use coconut oil.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people use coconut oil. Yes. No. Anyhow.